Moving on to item 6, public comment. The board will now hear those who wish to make comments and who have completed and returned the public comment participation request. This section will be conducted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act and board policy. Complaints and concerns for which other resolution channels are provided shall be directed through those channels. Mr. Shoppy, do we have any registered speakers?
Yes, we do. We have one. Miss Alyssa Thompson from Cabell Barrier Lane wants to talk about graduation.
Good evening, guys. My name is Alyssa Thompson, and I'm speaking on behalf of the entire senior class of 2024. I would like to add that many seniors could not make it tonight because of their extracurricular activities, including orchestra, volleyball, all of those. It has come to our attention that our graduation will be limited to 4 to 5 tickets per senior. We find this extremely disrespectful, but considering the parents' decision made in the summer to graduate at Ashire Stadium and Deer Park be discarded due to few people that complained about the setting in which we are graduating. I'd like to note that majority of those don't even have seniors that are graduating. Yes, we know that Deer Park has been our rival for years. However, they have welcomed us with open arms to allow us to walk the stage and celebrate an important moment in everyone's life. Imagine if you had to choose between your family members. Imagine if you had to pick which sibling you wanted, or which parent, or which grandparent. Oh wait, y'all don't have to because y'all have no seniors that are graduating this year. We have worked way too hard for too long to be expected to choose between family members because of the choice you guys have made. It is clearly shown that y'all could, the choice that y'all made does not care about democracy, in the sense that majority rules and disregard a vote due to a little complaint. Democracy is the majority plus one, 50% plus one. That vote was well over that. We as a senior class deserve to graduate in a stadium where we can invite whomever and how many we want. Why should a little complaint stand in the way of a grandparent sitting in attendance watching their grandchild walk the stage as one of the first people in their family to become a high school graduate? The fact that we haven't heard anything about graduation is speaking volumes, and I'm sick and tired of this whole debate and not hearing any answers. My friends and family have been there every step of the way, and to expect us to choose between them is unfair and presumptuous. Change the setting of the graduation so we can celebrate a milestone with everyone who has been there with us along the way. Thank y'all.
Thank you so much.
Young lady, we cannot comment on what you just shared with us, but I do want to commend you for taking the time to participate and to put that together. It's not an easy task, so it's an invaluable skill. Will serve you well. And I see that you got some backup in attendance too. So thank you, ladies, for showing up. I know it's a sacrifice of your time, so we appreciate you.
Thank you.
We'll now move to action item 7, our administrative reports. Dr. Jackson?
Thank you, Mr. President. Good evening, board and everyone and board members. The Porte ISD this week will continue our first 9-week grading period of the 23-24 school year, and I'm pleased to report to you that this evening that our district's legacy of excellence is continuing strongly. Our teachers are teaching and our students are learning. Excuse me. We recently received word that 40 of our outstanding high school students have been honored as AP Scholars. In short, these students have proven that they can do college work at a high level, which is a testament to their academic prowess and desire to carry out their education well beyond high school. We're immensely proud of those scholars. More information will be forthcoming, but I wanted you to be the first to publicly hear about these wonderful academic accolades. Clap, clap on that. 40 academic scholars. Much of our student success has been spawned by dedicated teachers. Over the past several weeks, our instructional staff have received hours upon hours of professional development to help them hone their skills. I'm grateful to our academics team for facilitating a variety of lesson plans to help our teachers become better at their craft. Such sessions are planned throughout the year, and I'm also grateful to our campus leaders, our principals, who support our instructional staff every step of the way. As you now know, it's National Principals Month, and we certainly thank you for please joining us in thanking our principals for their continuous pursuit of excellence. Let's give them a hand one more time. Community engagement is especially important to all of us, and I want to thank our staff and parents for a wonderfully informative event this past month, during which we learned about our safety processes, family engagement efforts, and outstanding gifted and talented offerings. We will have plenty more events like these in the future. Stay tuned. As has become the norm in LaPorte ISD, our nationally recognized performing arts programs are off and running. After 2 top 10 finishes at warm-up events, the Mighty Bulldog Marching Band and Color Guard will compete this weekend in the UIL Marching Contest. This past year, our performing arts programs brought home 13 sweepstakes awards. That is a high bar, and our young performers are prepared to continue that success. If you want a preview of their routine, you can see it this coming Friday in Mount Bellevue, where our Bulldogs football team takes on New Caney Porter. Our Bulldogs have only 1 loss in this tough district, and they have one of the best programs in record years, and we're very proud of that. We'll also want to make mention of our event last week, during which we honored our 2023 Distinguished Alumni and Citizen. Our honorees, just as in past years, have contributed much to our legacy of excellence, and we are forever grateful to them, and we honor them for their service to our school district. We're excited about another event coming this Saturday, the LaPorte Education Foundation's 30th Anniversary Gala, which will be held at the Galveston Island Convention Center. Through the years, the foundation has given back $2.7 million to our schools, and we look forward to supporting the foundation at this event. Tickets are available online. Just visit laporteisd.org, where information can be found on the homepage slideshow. As always, safety and security are paramount in our district, and I want to offer my sincere thanks to everyone who helps to ensure that we can carry out our business without worry. Also, I want to offer my personal thanks to Lieutenant, once again, Matt Novosad, who has been a reliable fixture here for many years. Not only has he done much to keep us out of harm's way, but he has also built countless relationships with students and staff. Thank you, Matt, for all of your years of service to the LaPorte Independent School District. Our district is safer because of your efforts. And finally, Board, Governor Abbott's 3rd special called legislative session began Monday. It focuses on school choice, border security, public safety, and banning COVID-19 mandates for private employers. Despite supporting 5.9 million students statewide, neither public education funding nor teacher salaries are on the legislative agenda. I sent out a communication today to our stakeholders with information about this session and the funding needs of public school districts, not just in LaPorte, but throughout Texas. For example, the basic allotment for schools has not changed since 2019, despite inflation. We will continue to provide updates about this special session, and I encourage our parents, staff, and community to contact our state legislators and to let them know the importance of supporting our teachers and staff, and ultimately supporting our students. On behalf of the administration, teachers, and staff, we would like to thank our board and the Porte ISD stakeholders for your ongoing support as we continue our legacy of excellence in the 23-24 school year. And that concludes my board update and report. Mr. President, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Jackson. We'll now hear a bond and safety update by Dr. Bromley.
All right. Good evening, President Hanks, Board of Trustees, Dr. Jackson. Tonight, just give the monthly update on safety and where we are as it pertains to the bond process. If you drove out today by the stadium, you actually saw some construction happening. We've been kind of on a holding pattern, but last Wednesday, we were granted from the city a partial permit. That was critical in our phasing and the timeline in which we're dealing with and trying to get things moving ahead. So what that allows us to do in the current state here is to start our foundational work and moving some dirt and getting some things set up out there. So you'll start to see that. We are still expecting our full site plan permit and our drainage permit, and we're hopefully to have that by the end of this week, early next week is where we're at. So we've worked closely with the city and you know, spent a lot of time last week on calls and in meetings, reviewing different items to make sure that when we resubmit it to them, that there could be nothing else that could be found or, you know, any comments that they could have. So I feel comfortable about that, but we are at least back moving out there because that's what we need to see. Bond safety updates. I've spoke several times in past about our district access standard. We were not consistent throughout our district as far as campuses, some in which you would come to and you were able to go right into the vestibule area or that first part, and then they would access you into the front office. We are now moving to a point here, and hopefully here in the next 2 weeks, we'll have everything done to where nobody can gain entry without the ring camera, as you can see in that picture there, the front office staff being able to see who's there. They give them access into the vestibule, and then they also give them access into the office. So kind of a two-way control point. Bayshore and LaPorte got completed today. Lomax starts tomorrow, and then we move on to finish up, and that will complete all of our campuses in the district to be exactly the same. Okay. Also, some fencing. You may have been seeing that. Started here at LaPorte Junior High, LaPorte Elementary, around the auxiliary field. We also put some fence up at our old transportation site. So we're doing that very quickly. This is all part of the safety standard in which we have to be compliant with by August of 2024. Remember, we got two options. You either have the security-resistant film, which we've done a whole lot of, and/or you have to have the perimeter fencing that's non-scalable and/or 8 feet tall. So what you see there is 8-foot fencing that's going to go out throughout some of the different campuses. In phase one, these are the campuses that will be getting hit, and we'll be moving on to a couple others. Not all of them will be getting fencing. If they didn't get fencing, they'll get the security-resistant film. And then last but not least, you know, the state doesn't allow me to tell you when we do well on our detections or audits. I have to come back there and tell you when we don't do well. So we are on the clock for September and October with TEA to come out and do our intruder detection audits. We had 2 that were performed the week of the September 18th, and we had no findings, which means it was a 100% complete successful audit.
Awesome.
Okay. Any questions for me?
With the slowness of the permits and all that, is this going to be affecting any of the completion dates?
So at this moment, no. We are hopeful to make up ground. If I'll be honest, if we didn't get that partial, we'd have been in some trouble as far as timeline and trying to get to a point where we want to finish in that frame that we want to finish.
Because I want to build before the Dutch brothers is supposed to be built too, so who knows?
Yeah.
Dustin, you can share with the board some of the steps that we're going through. The city has a process, and then there's an outside agency.
So what's different now between in the past, from my knowledge of people that have been a part of this process with the city, is when they get into their civil part, they're actually outsourcing that to a third-party team that's housed in Harris County. Cobb Finley, I believe, is the engineering team. So that has been significant issues because the standard operating procedures that the city has and what they told us that we need to meet in pre-planning meetings totally changed when it went out to this third-party review. And it's not necessarily anybody's fault, but they came back and was like, the model you're using doesn't even work. So we immediately got our architects and engineers engaged with them, and they literally sat down for almost a week. And by the end of it, they said, look, we don't need to change that model. Let's just throw that away. Just wasting a lot of time of miscommunication. So working very closely with Mr. Alexander, the city manager, trying to get all that put together. But there's been a lot of third-party miscommunication as it relates to going back to the city to then get back to the district.
I've had a lot of questions from citizens about that things are being built off-site somewhere, and then when it gets here, we're just going to put it together like a Lego puzzle. Can you help me understand any of that?
No, I hope not.
Like, things are being built off-site, and then when they get here, we're going to put it together.
No, it's not prefabbed.
Okay,
Prefab.
I didn't think so, but I just thought.
I was just kidding when I told you that.
No.
Just kidding, it wasn't
There you
me.
go.
No, I've had several people say that. Well, it's being built somewhere in a warehouse, and I'm like, I don't think so. I mean, I'm not the construction expert, but I don't think so.
Yeah, you'll start to see some of that hopefully as we
Yeah.
get along.
Well, the comment, on our boardwalks going to the elementary campuses specifically, the security again was top notch.
Yes.
Super
College
impressed.
Park is locked down.
Yeah, that was tough sledding to get in there. And it's almost intimidating to go in there and have your face recognized and but
I'm glad
super
it is.
impressive,
Yeah.
to see that type of technology in the
So we
safe parks.
switched this year, technology and I worked closely. We used to have Raptor, which is very common.
Yes.
To Visitor Aware, which is more screen picture, and it helps with our events because you can do things. And we're even getting more out of it slowly to try to get where our teachers can sign into it and you can run reports out of it and do some other things.
It wouldn't even recognize if there was a second person in the background.
That's right.
Which is
Yeah,
crazy.
it was
So,
very sensitive.
anyway, kudos to all the legwork that went into doing that. I feel really good about the safety of the campus.
Is that the same system that's gonna be all the schools?
It already is.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, the Visitor Aware is already that. It's the iPad base. Actually, there's one here in the front. We started here, but all of that's been switched out. So that now I'll have that.
Kind of a selfish question, but my sons and I like to utilize the court at Porte Elementary basketball court, and I know when building an auxiliary field, it had to be closed off. But now that the fence is complete, will that be accessible to the public again?
Yes, we'll be working with the campus to unlock that at certain times to be able to do that. All that will still be accessible.
Thank you.
And the tennis courts as well.
All that, yeah.
Okay.
I already use 24/7.
Those tennis courts are used.
All the time.
They're there at 3 o'clock in the morning.
We're having
playing
issues
tennis.
with people getting back there.
Yeah, I
So
figured.
we were
Yeah.
trying to tighten it up a little bit because we didn't have full fencing.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
We'll now have our financial update by CFO, Ms. Stacy McDowell. Hi, Ms. Stacy.
Hi, how are y'all?
Good, how are you?
Good. So good evening. Thank you for allowing me to provide the financial update for you tonight. So we're going to go over the following topics. The first topic is we had a September 12th board meeting, and so there were some questions asked at that board meeting, and I wasn't able to give you all of the information. So the next day, on the 13th, I emailed you the details, but we just wanted to go through those questions and answers again to make sure that you have what you need, and if you had any further questions on that. Then we'll also discuss our current financial information. In great news, we have a fiscal year 23 fund balance increase of $5 million, so we're going to talk about how that occurred. Then we'll also discuss a 5-year financial review, just kind of a quick overview that I think will be very helpful as we continue to talk financial topics. Then we'll also, for those past 5 years, the reason that we've been able to put money into our fund balance and why it has been able to increase. And then we'll also quickly walk through our annual calendar of events. And this will include what you can expect from me at board meetings, what you're going to be presented, and then also the timing of when we get TEA information and when we give TEA information. And then finally, I was asked by a board member to kind of walk through what our banking and our investments for the districts, where we keep our money, and how we decide where to keep it. So we'll also talk about that. And then at the end, if you have any questions, we'll be happy to discuss. So, on September 12th, but this all was given to you on the September 13th. So the first question that Ms. Thompson actually brought up was, what made up the difference between our general fund total assets as of June 30th versus July 31st? And there was a decrease of $8 million, which was a great question. And that was due to $5 million of it was our regular payroll and our regular accounts payable payments to our vendors. And then $3 million of it was prepaid expenses, and then due to government balances that we book in June and we have to reverse back in July. So those are required year-end accounting entries. So just for your information, July, August, and September is all about closing out the prior fiscal year. So there's a lot of going back and forth. We work with our auditors to make sure that everything is correct as of June 30th. Mr. Martin asked what made up that $360,000 increase in the Function 11, which is our instruction budget on the budget amendment. So, excuse me, $128,000 of that was for special education. So that was an SLP, and then also SPLA, or SLPA, I apologize. So that's a speech language pathologist, and then also a speech language pathologist assistant that we originally had budgeted for federal funds, and then we realized that that funding is not what we thought it was going to be. So we have to have those positions, so they have to come out of the general fund. So we were increasing to pay for those. And then the big part of it, the $232,000 of it, was an increase, and this is to book our required GASB 96 entry. This is a new GASB accounting required entry that we have to make, and it's for, we call it SPIDA, and so that stands for Subscription-Based Information Technology Arrangement. So anytime you have any kind of a lease, technology-wise, you have to make this entry. So that was what that part is. The third one was, Mr. Martin also asked, was why doesn't the cash balance on the balance sheet equal to the cash balance on the total monthly report? And again, that was a great question. The balance sheet only has four funds that we're telling you about. So that's the general fund, our food service, our debt service, and our capital projects. Whereas on our monthly investment sheet, it's all funds. So that includes those four funds, also workers' comp, our TERS, our grants, our ECC, and our student campus activities. So they're never going to match. It's apples and oranges on that.
Would this, on number 2, that $128,000 increase, would that have been something the board voted on since it's a contract service?
It was brought to y'all, yes, it was
Okay,
part of
so
it.
then we, okay.
Yes. Question number 4 was, Mr. Young had asked, what was the difference between the 2022 and the 2023 certified values? So between 22 and 23, the certified values actually increased $519 million. But where we had a decrease was in 23, in April, we get estimated certified values. And then in July, we get the actual certified values. So in 23, that decreased $641 million. And that was due because the new state law that is potentially going to be adopted in November 7th, that our homestead exemptions are going from 40,000, not 40 million. 40,000 to 100,000.
Right.
So that jump of $60,000 cost the district $641 million in property value. And then the next two questions, they were just for clarification purposes. I just want to make sure that we all had the right information. What is the current deficit budget? So back in June, the board adopted a budget with a deficit of $8.6 million.
Right.
And then due to the tax laws that the 80th legislature is going to adopt, or did adopt and will be voted in most likely, and that those two things of lowering the maximum compressed rate by almost 11 cents, and then also again increasing the homestead exemption from 40 to 100,000, that brought our deficit from 8.6 up to 9.3. Okay? And then the last one was, what is the 90 days and the 150 days? What are those amounts? So 90 days is 28.7 million, and 150 days is 47.8. That's at that current deficit budget of the 9.3 million. Okay? So, and I just want to point out that, you know, TA on our Schools First report, which that'll be brought to you next month, and just going to break and let you know we got an A. So that's great.
Celebrate it.
Celebrate. But that, on the Schools First, you get points if you have 90 days. And it's really important for you to have 90 days because of general operating expenses to cover your fund balance and to be able to operate until their tax revenues come. But again, we are a July 1st fiscal year, so therefore we need those extra 2 months to get us. So that's where the 150 days comes in.
Right.
So are there any other further questions on those topics? Okay. We'll move on. So current financial. So here's some great news too. We are renting our the almost 2.5 acres that we have at Dr. Martin Luther King, where the old bus barn was. We are renting that for parking. And so for each month, we're getting about $11,000. And so annually, we'll have $132,000. And that is a 1-year contract and with option to renew for 3 years. Dr. Jackson already kind of spoke on this, but I just want to give a little bit more detail. So special session number 3 started yesterday, and the focus is on parent choice. So, which we all know is vouchers, and that would be $8,000 per student. that would be given to parents if they, chose to do that. At this time, public school funding is not part of the session topics. But I just want to point out too on here that the basic allotment right now is $61.60 per ADA, and that's our average daily attendance, is what that stands for. That was last increased in 2019, and it was increased $473. It was really low, and they had not been raised in a while, so they kind of did it all at one time. But inflation since 2019 has increased 17%.
Right.
So that would actually be $900 that if we were at line. Our 6160 should really be a 7,060. Okay. But even though public school funding is not part of the conversation right now that the governors have brought up in the topics, Senate Bill 2 is being discussed, and it was discussed in the Senate Finance Committee, and it was passed through. It's not part of Special Session 3 until the governor says it's part of Special Session 3. But it will also still, they're preparing, just in case. So it's going to be talked about in the Senate later this week. So what Senate Bill number 2 is a couple of things, but the things that really matter to us is a teacher retention allotment of where our teachers that are at a school that have more than 5,000 students will get $3,000 as a one-time payment, and teachers that work in a district, that has less than 5,000 students, they will get $10,000. So it would be a bonus payment, a one-time payment this next year, with the possibility of extending into an ongoing salary increase. What I have read is it will be TRS eligible for those teachers. However, we don't really know how it will be funded. We don't know if it will be funded for 1 year, and then it's just part of their salary, and then the districts have to pick it up. We don't know, and they're really not saying, for good reasons, because, they're keeping everything pretty tight. Another thing that would be included in this bill would be an increase to the basic allotment of $75. Remember, I just said we need $900 to be in inflation, okay?
Right.
So $75, our current ADA, which is our average daily attendance for the district right now, is about 6,600 kids. So that equals out, you times the 75 times that, so it's about $495,000 that we would get annually. We'll take it. We will take it. And then the other piece that is a part of Senate Bill 2 is an increase in the school safety allotment from $10 a day to $20 a day per ADA. So that's about $66,000 annually for us. And then moving from $15,000 per campus to $30,000 per campus. So that's about $180,000. So all of this, the basic allotment increase, and then also the school safety allotment, that's about $740,000 for our district annually. We have a $9.3 million.
Now, just to make sure I'm following you.
Yes, ma'am.
And also for the public that's listening, if we were to get held whole, I would say, to what the inflation rate is, that number would be 5.93 something million, okay? 5.9 million, we'll go with that. And right now, as it stands, we're going to get 494,000.
Yes.
Yeah, just
Yes, ma'am.
just thought I would note that math.
It's a little different, yeah.
Yeah, just real small difference there.
As I say in my world, just a bit outside.
Yes,
Just a
ma'am.
bit outside, yeah.
And just as what we're going to discuss next is that $5 million that's going to increase our fiscal year 23 fund balance.
Okay.
So this is as our fiscal year 23 wraps up with our audit and our TA settle-ups, that's where this is coming into play. So let's talk about that. 3.9 of that is our recapture amount decreased. So we paid 58, we really should pay 54. The reason for that is that the district contracts with Purdue Brandon, and they protest our certified property values.
Yes.
So, and we won. They protested 2022, we won. They said, nope, y'all valued this way too high. So TA and the comptroller have updated their values for what our property values should be for 22. So that's a $170 million decrease in values. And as we all know, when you decrease your values, you decrease your property taxes received, which means you decrease your recapture. So it's kind of a trickle effect. So that's where that $3.9 million comes from.
Awesome.
The next part, the $1.1 million is, we actually, in state funding, we're going to get another $1.1 million in our available school fund and our foundation school program fund. And that's because in late June, we do our PEAM summer submission. So we're giving this data to TEA. We're giving them their average daily attendance, and we're giving our FTA, TE data, we're giving them a ton of data. So they're using that and saying, okay, well, I mean, do we pay them too much? Do we pay them too little? And then also in July, we provide TEA with our tax collection data, how much do we really receive in taxes, and then what our local property surveys are. So TEA gathers all that information and they settle it up. So the total impact, that's where that $5 million comes from. A decrease in recapture and then an increase in our revenues that we're going to get from our state.
Does Purdue Brandon, do they contest this on an annual basis, or is it something every couple
They
of years?
ask us, for the year that I've been here, we've been doing it, and I feel like historically we do.
Was it, has
Yeah.
it ever happened where it came down? I've never.
It's,
Since I've been here, this is the most that we've had.
right.
Yeah.
We did also, they protested 2019, and we just got the paperwork on that. It's not nearly as significant as that, but it's
Not
something.
always that big, but it's.
Right. So this is, but you have to think too, 2022, the values raised so aggressive in that year compared to every other year. So that's why.
When does that money come back to us?
That's a great question. We will receive that. In the past, we've received it in the fall. And so what TEA will do is they do a payment to us. And so it goes straight to our bank account. It's set up that way. So all of our payments from TEA go straight into our bank account. And in the past, when we have gotten settle up from recapture, it's been in the fall timeframe. Since it's so large, I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, it's on our books that they owe us though.
Yeah.
So that's
And
good.
it's not like they don't have it.
And yes,
Yeah,
and they told us they owe us.
Well, I guess
So
what I'm getting
that's
at, because that's awesome, but I mean, it was such a blessing to finish a year in the black even before this,
Right.
right? But as you just mentioned, we had that $9.2 million or $3 million deficit. That can't be applied towards that. It has to
It
be
will be.
retroactive.
I mean,
It is
everything
what it
rolls.
is.
It'll be
No,
an issue.
and you know what, that's a great question. So if we go to the next screen, we'll kind of walk through it, okay? So this next screen, and I have it in front of you too, the handout, so it might be easier for y'all to see in that. This is the 5-year financial review, the data. And I wanted to provide this to you because I'm going to keep this with me. It's very easy to have conversations when it's right in front of your face, and I try to make it where it's easy to read. So we're just going to go through it quickly. So as you see at the top, it's going to be your fiscal years and your tax rates. 23 and 24, those fiscal years are estimates because everything is an estimate until it's audited. So everything changes. So you're always going to see an estimate at the end there. So if you do see, we have the tax rates and how they have changed from year to year. And from 23 to 24, I just wanted to remind you that's a 28-cent tax rate decrease. From part of it's from normal compression that would have happened anyway. We all lost the extra compression of almost 11 cents, and then we don't have the just 12 cents of a disaster penny. So that's what makes up that. The next section on rows 4, 5, and 6, you can see this is what we budgeted. These are all in millions, so hopefully it's easier to read instead of seeing a bunch of numbers across the way here. So you can see we have adopted a deficit budget for the past 5 years plus 6 years here. We go down to the next section where this is the actual, this is what actually occurred. And we came in the black, like Mr. Martin said. So we did not, the deficit budget turned out to be a positive increase to our fund balance. Line 10 is what our fund balances were. I have the two highlighted here with the arrows pointing out to them because that's where you're going to see the $5 million. So if we had not gotten the $5 million there for the extra recapture and or the decrease in the recapture and the increase in the state funding, that would just be $300,000, and that would just be, so we would have stayed the same.
So on the 24, on the estimate side, when we budgeted and voted on that, is that based on the numbers? We voted on that before we had these numbers from Purdue.
Exactly right. And we're walked through that.
In theory, so we should see a substantial decrease, right? Or get more money back or not have to pay
Right,
rather
so-
much recapture?
Well, we're accounting for that recapture, and we're accounting for that, the state aid. We haven't received it yet, but we're going to receive it, so you have to account for it in the year that it occurred.
Got it.
So that's in '23. So it's not going to be additionally in '24. When we receive those funds, it's counted for in the fiscal year. That
But
it
I guess
occurred.
I'm getting that, and sorry, I'm slow.
No.
So like on the when we
Oh,
got to the
absolutely, yes.
9.3 million deficit, like that's based on those old numbers, right, before it was contested?
Yes.
So that should go down too then, in theory.
In, what should go down?
The
I just wanna make sure.
9.3, it shouldn't be as high of a deficit, right? Like, we should get some relief on,
We're hoping, we don't know. And as we walk through the calendar, I think you'll understand better of how we're gonna get to that, so. But I just want to point out, that's where that 5 million is that you're gonna see. It's in fiscal year '23, and the bottom line is we expect to have a fund balance of 65 million. So on lines 11 and 12, we have our 90-day and 150-day, so we had just discussed that. And you can see the only year that did not have the 150 days was in 2019. Other than that, we've had the 150 days. Line 13 is your recapture payment all the way through. So again, in '24, it's $25 million, but also our tax rate is 28 cents less than it was. So we're not getting nearly as much revenue. Line 14 is our certified values. Now that's in billions, it's not in millions. So you can see the increase there. And then on 15 and 16, we have our enrollment, and then our full-time equivalent employees. You can see on our enrollment, we are not where we were pre-COVID, but we're trying hard. Are there any questions on this page? Okay, so let's talk about why we've been able to put that money into our fund balance for these past 5 years. From fiscal year 20 and through fiscal year 23, for those 4 years, we had the additional 12 pennies. And that provided, depending on what our certified value was, an extra $5 to $8 million of revenue net recapture. That's what those 12 pennies gave us. So without that, this would not look this way. Also, 20 to 24, we received $13 million from TEA for ESSER funds. That's our last year for that. And then in 2020, if we just kind of go up here and look back, you can see, on line 9 for 2020, that balance of $14 million. Like that is because we received $9.5 million of Harvey payment. That obviously that is not something we can count on ever happening again.
It set the district up positively, but
it did.
We can't bank on it.
We cannot bank on anything like that. So again, that in the $13 million ESSER funds, just think of it this way, that's $13 million of general fund that we did not have to spend for salaries and for utilities and for insurance and different things like that. And then our last is, estimates versus actuals. It takes a year for TA to settle up from prior years. So this is a really big reason why we budget so conservatively, because we really don't know what's coming down the pipeline. We don't know if something we're hoping for will actually happen. So we always hope for the best, but we plan for what we do know and what we try to be. So to explain that a little better, I just wanted to walk through the calendar to hopefully give you all a better feeling of how the finances work and when we get our information. Now this is, the blue items on here are board reports that you will receive from me throughout the year. And obviously there'll be different ones at different times, but these are the ones you can count on. And when I went through this calendar, this is based on last year's. So last year as an example. So in January of last year, I gave you, here's the budget and tax rate planning calendar for fiscal year 24. So we're in 23, but 6 months ahead of time, I'm already starting working on it. In March, I'm going to bring forward you, here's the property insurance renewal. And then also in March, we're in 23, but 9 months past the end of fiscal year 22, they say, hey, now you have your final summary of finance. And I don't know if any of you have ever seen a summary of finance. If you haven't, don't see me. But let me tell you what it is. It's a report the TA gives you. And it breaks down your spending requirements. It gives you your tax collections, your student allotments, your state funding, and so many other data points. So it's the mecca of everything financial that TA does it. So they, 9 months after the fiscal year, they say, we're finally done with that year.
Wow.
So that, just want to keep that in mind. And then in April, on the budget side, we received those certified estimates, and that's what's used. So we're using estimates to budget in June for the next fiscal year. Then we go to May, we had our budget workshop and our compensation review. And then in June, you'll have your board hearing. At the board meeting, we have our budget hearing and our budget adoption. And we also, y'all vote on our investment officers and training resolutions pertinent to the investment piece. And then the district makes our recapture payment. But again, we don't know what our certified values are. So we don't really know we pay what they say at that time is what is owed.
And sometimes it's an overpayment.
And sometimes it's an
Like this
overpayment,
one,
and
yeah.
sometimes it's an underpayment. We had 2 years ago, we owed $61,000. We were close, but not close enough.
I may have missed it on here. When did we get the Whitley Penn audit?
We're coming to it.
Oh, sorry.
Yes, no,
Sorry.
that's good. So in July,
Oh, there
we
we are, sorry.
received the certified tax values. So it was an estimate back in April, but now we actually get the certified values at the end of July. And then we provide the district our property finance values and our tax information payment, and they use that to calculate our maximum compressed rate. So we've adopted a tax rate back in June, but we don't even know it until the beginning of August. And we use that to, obviously our maximum compressed rate, that's what we build our M&O tax rate on. And then also in July, they give us our very first preliminary summary of finances for fiscal year 24. We're in fiscal year 24, so you'd think that would be great, but it's not useful at all. It's full of data that is a year old at least, and so it's really not working. But we'll get an updated summary of summary of finance over at least 10, 20 times throughout the year. They just, every time they get a piece of information, they update it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so, then we go to August. In August, we brought forth the certified debt collection rate, and then we actually received what our maximum compressed rate was. So in September, we approved the certified tax roll from the previous year, and y'all adopted the tax rate. And then also in September, this is when we got the near final. So you have your preliminary, you have your near final, and then your final. So we got the near final for fiscal year 23. We're going to have near finals until March. But in this near final, that's when they updated and said, hey, you owe $3.8 million less in recapture. And so they settled up with us on this first near final. Then in November, which is next month, that's when you're going to get the Whitley Penn annual audit. Yay! Which has gone very well, very smooth. So just another little, and we'll also get the schools first. Hey, it's an A, so that's even good. And then we will ask you to approve our committed fund balance. So the next slide, to me, I'm a visual person. I mean, words are great, but I like to see on the timeline kind of what, and I really want to give you a visual so you can see just in one fiscal year, we're really working with 3 fiscal years. So nothing is, and this is all the same information that we just walked through, but all the orange ones are fiscal year 24, the green one is 22, and then we're in 23 during this time, and we got our near final at the end of September, and that purple.
23.
Yes. So I just wanted to, again, say that school finance is all about estimates, and then settle up, and then so it's constantly changing, and so it's very difficult for me to give you, unless it is audited and done, it's very hard for me to say what's going to happen in the future, what's going to, and which is why I'm very conservative about what I do say or what we do present to you, because we never want to promise something and not be able to deliver it to you. So the last piece is our banking and investments of the district. So Wells Fargo is our depository bank, and we are with them until 2025, and then we will have to go out to bid for a new depository bank. Then we have on the left side here, we have all of our different bank accounts. So general fund, operating, our debt service, capital projects, food service, workers' comp, so forth and so on. So at our depository bank, that is, we have an account for each one of those. Then we have 4 pools. And so a pool is, it's like an investment, and so districts put their money into it. These interest rates right here are yesterday's interest rates, so you can see that they're much higher than what's in Wells Fargo, which means we only keep our operating funds in Wells Fargo. We keep all of our money in our pools and we divide it out so that we are, kind of to diversify and to mitigate any kind of risk that might happen. All of these are guaranteed, they're all certified, everything is, they're all on the up and up, they've been around forever. Every district uses some form or fashion of these. So the general fund / operating, debt service, and capital projects, we have at the 4 pools and then also at Wells Fargo. And then our food service, we have it at 2 pools and 1 at obviously Wells Fargo. And workers' comp is just at 1. So we also have 2 CDs that are at Gulf Coast that have a 5.25% interest rate, which is lower than what we can earn in the pool, but we like to diversify. We want to kind of keep, give us, different options in our investing, because you never know when these interest rates are going to go down. We don't expect them to. We're not told that they are. It's not, everything that I've read is that Texas is not going to go into a recession, so that's great news. So I know that was a ton of information, and I appreciate y'all listening.
We appreciate you putting this together.
And next is, I'm happy to answer any kind of questions that I can, and if I don't have the answer, then I will get it for you, and I'll have it first thing tomorrow morning.
First of all, I love this calendar, and I think we should make this a document, and it should be part of orientation for any new board member so that they can see the ebb and flow of things and understand, oh, this number that we're talking about is 22. Oh, that one's 24. This one's 23. Because it's hard to wrap your head around, and none of us are budgetary experts, so I'm sorry, I'm speaking for myself. Anyway, so I appreciate this, but I think we should make this a document for onboarding of any new trustee. Okay, my next question, well, that was just comment. My question is, I know the deadline for ESSER funds is approaching. What is that deadline date?
We have until the end of, and Jennifer Green, you tell me.
September 2024.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And do we know how much we have left at this point?
I believe we have right
Approximately.
around $3.5 million. Not even that much now. Right, but at the beginning of the fiscal year, or the beginning of the fiscal year, we had around $3.5 million that we budgeted for fiscal year 24.
Okay.
Yes, and every month we have payroll coming out, we have different things coming out, so
Right.
it decreases.
So
every
we
month.
wouldn't go into a new budget year trying to hire
No.
and pay for things.
No,
That's going
we
to run out
want
of
to
money
use it all
in
up in
September of
24.
next year.
We're
Right?
going to actually use it up as of in July. So when we do the 25 budget, we're not going to have ESSER funds.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. That's my only question. Thank you for all this information. It's very helpful.
I want to
Ian
thank
pointed
you.
over at me on the budget, on the finance, so I am the least equipped probably in terms of understanding finance, school finance in particular, but, so I apologize for all the questions, that's just,
No.
that's try how I learn.
Absolutely.
But I sincerely, this is so helpful to me to kind of go through that, because going back and forth where, I think we finished, when we were talking about the budget earlier this year, we were about a $2.5 million deficit, and it closed, and so having this explanation is huge, and at our conference we went to this last 2 weeks ago, all the school districts, there are numerous commented on the struggles with the ESSER funds, drying up, and so to me it's such a godsend blessing. If I'm doing the math right, at $13 million over 5 years is 2.6 per year, so that $5 million come back, it's like, I know,
Right.
it's $2 million, it's 2 years worth of ESSER funds, and so that's a huge deal for us, and so that's such a blessing. So I'm very thankful for that. And thank you again so much for this helps me and the way my brain works.
Yeah, great job on this.
Presentation was very helpful.
Okay, good. Well, if y'all ever have questions, please let me know, and I'm happy to.
I was going to say, this is actually going to help me. There's a couple of things I made a note of that I know that I need a little bit more, so I will be getting with you. on
I would love
that.
it.
That's what I think my biggest takeaway was, is where am I the weakest at,
Right.
and can get your help, so.
Well, I will be happy to answer any questions, if you want to have a one-on-one, you just call me, email me and we will do it, or if you just want to email me your questions and I'll send it back to you, however you want to do it. I'm help.
I'll be here at 7 a.m. No, just kidding.
So bring
Well,
coffee.
I'm not
You will
awake
be
at
the only
7 a.m.
person in this building at 7 a.m.
Thank you, Ms.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll now move to item D, teacher incentive allotment. Dr. Brown, how are you?
Good evening, President
Dr. Brown.
Hanks and members of the board and Superintendent Jackson. My slide deck on? So, this evening, I am here to present to the board on our teacher incentive allotment, which is part of House Bill 3, and it's an overview of our TIA proposal for LaPorte ISD. So we're going to start this evening with a quick video. This is a video that is on TA's website that's about the teacher incentive allotments. I wanted to share with you. It's about 3 minutes long. So let me go ahead and get started.
The teacher incentive allotment was established by House Bill 3 during the 86th legislature and is designed to give Texas teachers access to a six-figure salary. The program's goal is to reward, retain, and recruit effective teachers while promoting equitable distribution of these teachers. Teachers are eligible to generate allotment funds for their district based on their performance. Participating districts can designate a teacher as recognized, exemplary, or master based on teacher observation, student growth, or other factors determined by the district. Teachers can also reach recognized status by obtaining a national board certification. Once a designation is achieved, it lasts for 5 years or until their national board certification expires. Annual funding allotments are based on designations, rural status of the campus, and level of student economic need. A district will receive a TIA allotment between $3,000 and $32,000 for each employed designated teacher. Higher funding is generated for rural and high-needs campuses. A teacher's designation will move with them if they decide to work in another district. If the teacher meets eligibility requirements at their new district, then the funds generated will be awarded to the new district during the next year's allotment cycle. Districts who want to be approved for a local teacher designation system will need to develop and implement a system based on teacher observation and student growth measures. The Texas Education Agency approves district systems based on their validity and reliability. Approval of a local designation system is a two-step process over the course of 3 school years. The district should develop their system through stakeholder engagement, solidifying the components of their system, and aligning their system to performance standards. When the district has solidified their system, they will then submit their system application to TEA for review. This is known as Step 1 of the approval process. Will generate an allotment for their district. 90% of the funds generated must be used for compensation of teachers employed at the campus where the designated teacher works. Up to 10% of funds can be used for costs associated with supporting a local designation system or to support teachers in obtaining designations. Learn how to reward, retain, and recruit effective teachers at your district by visiting our website, tiatexas.org.
Quick video that tells you a little bit about the TIA process from TA. So why are we pursuing TIA in LaPorte? Here are some reasons why we are pursuing this process. We would be in cohort G. As you saw in the video, they started in 1819, so A all the way now to G. So we want to increase student achievement. We want to support teacher growth. We want to increase retention of our most effective teachers. We want to increase the equity of access to most effective teachers. I want to provide opportunity to strengthen our current evaluation system, which is our T-test evaluation. We want to remain competitive in this tight labor market because we have surrounding districts who have already are in the process now with the application or have the application approved. And then we also want to use the state dollars to increase the teacher salaries. Teacher salary increase will go towards their TRS. So whatever a exemplar teacher, that money amount would go towards the TRS retirement.
Dr. Brown, just give the board an example of a teacher that has gone through the whole process and that has reached mastery on the type of salary that they could get.
Right, so a teacher who meets all the requirements that our committee creates, it would be created by the school district, by a committee of teachers and administrators. Let's say that we had a teacher who met all those requirements and they were exemplary. If they were exemplar, they could get up to $25,000 a year for 5 years. And again, that would go towards their TRS salary for a teacher. So it depends on the school, it depends on the eco-DIS, all that takes into account. So our goal in LaPorte are two means, recruitment and retention. We want to, again, attract and keep effective educators in our classroom, and we want to ensure that we reward our top teachers for their path and what they do with our students in terms of student growth. So how do we do this process? We have to bring everyone in early, clear communication. So we're starting with the board first. We've had a couple of meetings with our committee members. We started with committee members who are mostly teachers. So 90% of the committee are teachers. We have teachers from different grade levels, different content, from elementary all the way up to high school. We have administrators and we have some district folks. But the process is all a collaboration between the school leadership, communication, campus leaders and teachers, human capital, which is our HR, employee organizations, our teaching and learning division, our budget and finance division, and evaluation assessment. So how does this look? Again, the TIA process is an open, collaborative process. Nothing is done without the support of our committee members and our teachers. So the core commitment team, if you look on the far left, would be our principals, our teachers, curriculum, communication, human resource, and finance. We then create subcommittees. We'll have additional teachers to support with the development of our LP leads practices, which was our work with Holsworth in the last couple of years. And then we also have a group that will be leading the design for the teacher spending, what that looks like. And then teachers on the TIA committee will obtain the feedback from other teachers in the district. So additional input will be the teacher buy-in survey, continue the TIA core team meetings, establish larger group meetings, and engage quality district advisory committees. So a review of the TIA allotment. TIA is part of HB3, and again, it is for recruiting, supporting, and retaining our highly effective teachers in all of our schools in LaPorte. TIA districts will implement a strategic evaluation system. Once again, that system, we currently use T-tests. We're going to continue with T-tests as the teacher evaluation. The third piece is the data collection. Acquiring strategic evaluations to inform the staffing, the PD, the compensation, the career paths of our teachers in our district. So how does this look? TA has a collaboration with Texas Tech. So if you look at the first system review, we have to submit an application this year. So we're starting the process now. The application will be a year-long process. By the end of May, the application is turned into TA. Within 2 months, May, June, by mid-July, we should get feedback from TA if we are approved for the TIA process in LaPorte. So this year would be the application process year, as well as communication, surveys to teachers, having meetings with schools to talk about TIA. The second part with that would be year 2. If we are approved with our application process, is the data review. So we would take the data from this past year, so it would be 25, 26. The data then would go into with Texas Tech. They would run the numbers and they would actually tell us what teachers met, exemplar, and all the other pieces. I'm going to show you the designations in a second. So here are the designations. So as Dr. Jackson was saying, we can award our teachers within 3 different designations. You have recognized, exemplary, and master. So these are the 3 levels. And if you look, an allotment can go from $3,000 to $9,000 for recognized, $6,000 to $18,000 for exemplary, and then masters could be $12,000 to $32,000.
Wow.
And how does this look? If you look, starting at recognized, the top 30% in the state. This also includes teachers who obtain their national board certifications. They would automatically be part of the recognized. Exemplary will be the top 20% in the state. Masters will be the top 5. A teacher who obtains a designation will keep that designation for 5 years straight.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Well, on the back of the slide on the data review, it says district submit evidence. So what kind of, like, you know, some subjects are STAR tested, some of them got MAP testing. What about the art teacher, the portfolio? What kind of evidence will y'all be able to submit on that?
Right. It's a good question. So part of this process of exploration and exploring that we're doing, and if you look at this on the timeline of 23, 24, this application process is to talk about what cohort of teachers we want to start first with. So if we've been researching, talking to other districts, most districts starts with like a STAR testing or MAP testing or some type of pre and post test, grade levels. Then when you get to like CTE teachers, fine arts teachers, performing arts teachers, then you would have more conversations with these teachers to talk about what would be the post or what would be the pre, and then what would be the post in terms of student engagement or student achievement. So all of that would be actually designed by our committee of teachers. So it hasn't been designed yet. So if you look for this year, we are in the process now of that committee group. We met twice already. We are in collaboration with Region 13. They are our kind of consultants at this point. And so what we're doing is working on the application process and what that looks like. This year would also be the teacher buy-in survey. So we would have a survey that goes out to the teachers to talk about TIA. We would create a website on our main website to talk about TIA. So all that will be done after the board approves that we want to move forward with the TIA process. We want to launch this communication. We want to meet with the campus TIA expert members, and we provide PDs for teachers and our principal. That would be all this year up to June of 2024. Then on 2024 to 2025, hopefully by then, by July, we have our application accepted by TA. Then we would start the data review, depending on the group that we decide as a committee that we're utilizing for cohort 1. And so that data review will be collected based on T-tests. Again, I can't tell you the percentage of what that would look like because there are 2 parts to it. You will have the T-test evaluation and you will also have the student growth. And again, all of this will be decided by the committee this year. So in the next few months, these are the decisions that will be made.
Have y'all decided, I guess, is this going to be coming from a district that's kind of doing it in a phased approach? Are y'all going to just everybody, the whole district at once, or you do like phase, like elementary and then secondary, kind of a year gap or something, you know, kind of a phased approach?
Right.
Or you're just like, everybody's going to be on it at the same time?
Right. So I'm going to be honest with you, this is a lot of work. It's a lot of intentional work.
Which
and
is
it's
why districts kick
yes,
in down the road.
right, because this work is and we take it very intentionally because it's teacher money. So with that being said, I can't answer that question for you because the committee's going to decide. But whatever we decide and choose to do, we have to be intentional in terms of the fidelity of making sure that it's done correctly. So it is going to be the decision of the teachers in the committee.
Can you explain to us, since it says it's given to rural and then high need, can you tell us why we're classified as high need? Obviously, we're not considered rural.
Right. High needs would be your SES. So it would be your social economic status in terms of numbers of students in your schools. Right.
So because we're Title I and things that, okay.
Right.
Thank
That's
you.
the same question, but is it per campus or the district-wide?
Per campus. So it's based on campus. So each campus, depending on what school you're working at, depends on your SES percentage. That would be based on your high needs.
How many in our district are what would they classify as high need?
We have a lot of Title I campuses. So all our Title I campus, and then as I stated, what Texas State does is take that percentage and then base it in terms of what that allotment would be. So they do a matrix math and decide what that number would look like.
But are all 7 of our elementaries considered Title I?
Yes, all of them. So as a district, every one of our campuses will participate.
Awesome.
Okay? So next year,
If I may, Dr. Brown, just for a second, part of how we are designated as Title I has so much to do with how many students are considered free reduced lunch.
Yes,
am I correct?
that is correct.
Not the only thing, but that's
Yes,
certainly
that's a major,
factor of
that's a
that.
major factor, is our free reduced lunch. And so next year, that would start the data processing, taking the data, and then 25, 26, year 3 would be the year that, depending on the cohort teachers that are eligible in this cohort, will be paid out in terms of the reward. And again, as Trustee Yonda just asked, it would also depend, this process will probably be an ongoing process for the next 10 years, because if we're looking at different cohort of teachers who would be into the TIA process, we could start with small chunks each year, and it always will be a chunk of teachers going into the TIA process. Questions?
Comment.
Yes, sir.
So I had the chance to visit with the superintendent of Shepherd ISD and one of the presentations this last weekend. And he made the comment that, and he's in a rural district, surrounded by a larger area. And he said it killed him because he was losing out to teachers that were going to districts because his district at the time didn't offer this. And he says, he changed his mindset because this pool of money sitting out there, and he's like, it's such work and effort to go after it, but it's like, it's free money essentially. So I applaud Dr. Jackson, Dr. Brown, and you guys for working this, because I, as a recruiter at heart, like, the video said that once you're designated, you can go to other districts and take that. And I'm guessing, this is an assumption on my part, but we haven't been able to recruit any of those designated teachers because we're not a TIA district yet.
So we actually have a couple of teachers who came from districts this past year who were designated but not rewarded from that district. So those pieces, we would have to work out from our district in terms of if a teacher stays with us, because it's
I
a
just think this would be
5-year.
a huge recruitment.
Yeah, it's a huge recruitment when teachers stay, but we do have some teachers who, that process, so it makes us think about what we're gonna do in our district, because some of these teachers left other districts who are in the process, and they were rewarded last year, but they left to come to LaPorte and not getting that money this year.
I'm so happy that you guys are pursuing this. I know it's going to work.
And again, I'll say, and I'll confess to the board, not say, I'll confess to the board, we have really, I mean, when I first got here 4 years ago, we were already talking about this with Rhonda Cumby and Linda Watley. We were having this conversation. And there was, with the return to learn coming off of COVID, we were just, there was just too many things going on. So we're finally kind of coming out of that to where we can at least put some time in it. And I can honestly say, Dr. Brown and her team, it's almost taking on a whole nother level of work because it's a lot. But we're going to make it happen.
Yeah, we're gonna make it happen.
I guess that begs the question, okay, so let's say I'm teacher A at District A, and I meet these certain criteria and I get $25,000. But I move to District B, meet that same criteria. It also has a teacher allotment that may calculate a little differently, and now I'm only making 10,000. I'm like, how do you try to?
But the state does that.
The state does that?
The
Okay.
state,
That's not a district
right,
payout. That's
Okay.
a state
right,
payout.
Texas Tech, it's that partnership that they have with Texas Tech, so they
But as
take,
far as what criteria you meet, is
Yes.
that's going to be a
That's
district?
set by the district.
that's set by
right?
the district in terms of the criteria. For example, some districts, T-tests, their teacher evaluation may be 60%, and then the other 40% will be student growth, some type of measure of student growth. Some districts do 50-50, some districts do 70-20. So it just depends on what the committee decides on terms of what we want to measure for student growth and the teacher evaluation piece.
Because I just could see that as far as the district, you can make it easier, or you can make it harder
Right.
than some of your neighboring
Right.
districts.
Right.
And how you reach that. So even though the payout may be the same, what the criteria to get that could be a whole different. I just gotta be careful, you know,
We do.
remember, as far as your neighboring district, if you're going to talk about competitiveness and,
Right.
you know,
And some
Yeah.
districts add additional things like attendance, teacher attendance, they may add PD, attendance in professional development, hours, so there's different pieces. Again, all of these pieces will not be created in terms of the requirements with the people sitting in this room. This would be done by teachers giving us their feedback in terms of how they want to see this created in LaPorte.
In our committee, does it include like some fine arts and some CTE teachers as well, so that you're getting a mix of, you know, you
Usually someone
mentioned
from each
how to measure that. So-
Currently, right now, we have a mix of everyone, but
Okay.
we've only had 2 meetings, so we
Gotcha.
haven't even decided what cohort 1 will look like, what teachers will be eligible for this first upcoming year. Just to give you a little feedback, so like Clear Creek ISD, they're in cohort G just like us. So they're actually in the same process we are right now. Cohort F was a year prior to us, would be Galena Park, Pasadena, Pearland, Crosby, Dickinson, Texas City, Goose Creek, Channelview. They've had their application approved, so they're a year ahead of us. Deer Park and Friendswood has not done anything at this point, so I think they're still kicking it down the road a little bit more, as much as they can. But we're moving along as Cohort G with Clear Creek ISD.
Okay. And you said we're working with Region 13? Not Region 4?
No, Region 13 is actually, they do a lot of TIA consultations. So we are working with a region that we know has been doing this work for a long time.
And sometimes the TEA will designate
Yes.
a specific region.
Especially here.
to do
Yes,
that, to be a
different
specialty.
pieces.
Okay, okay, gotcha.
Any other questions? So as of tonight, again, we're here to share this with you so that you know the next piece is we will start now communicating this out to the masses. We'll have a website created. We're going to continue our meetings. We're going to continue with the application process, and I will continue to give you updates as we go along.
I got one other
Awesome.
question. I know you said you had already had 2 meetings with this committee. I guess, Jen, how many people, and is it like 2 or 3 per campus, or just, Jen, how many does this committee
How many
comprise
people on
of?
the committee?
Good question. So so our consultant shared with us, you don't want it too big, you don't want it too small. So we kept it around 15 to 18. I think actually we went up to about 20 people at this point. So what we did is we did a mix. So someone who's representing K2. Then we have someone who's representing 3-4 who is math, 3-4 ELA. Then we have a 5-6 math, 5-6 ELA. So we broke it up into chunks to have one representative that is representing that particular content and a couple of grade levels. So we broke it up in different
Is each
chunks.
campus represented as well?
And it would be separate campuses. So again, it would be one person, like a 3-4 math. So I asked, for instance, the 7 elementary principals to get together and talk about who that one teacher would be that would be perfect representative for 3-4 math. So they all work together, the principals, to give us the committee members.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Brown.
Thank you.
Dr. Brown.
Thanks so much.
All right, we're going to move to item 8, our consent agenda. A, determine and approve any consent agenda items. B, approve board meeting minutes. 1, regular board meeting minutes, September 12, 2023. 2, special team building minutes, September 19, 2023. C, receive principal's report. 1, Early Childhood Center. 2, Bayshore Elementary. 3, College Park Elementary. 4, Heritage Elementary. 5, Jenny Reed Elementary. 6, LaPorte Elementary. 7, Rizzuto Elementary. 8, Lomax Elementary. 9, Baker 6th grade campus. 10, LaPorte Junior High. 11, Lomax Junior High. 12, LaPorte High School. 13, DeWalt High School. D, receive financial reports for August 2023. E, receive human resources report. F, approve budget amendment. G, approve and adopt second reading of TASB local policy revision for EIC local and EIE local.
Request that pulled, please.
H, approve amendment to the memorandum of understanding between LaPorte ISD and San Jacinto Community College District, SJCCD, a dual credit provider relationship. I, approve employment of professional staff. J, approve purchase and installation of track and field renovations at Lomax Junior High.
Roll that one, please.
K, receive 2023-2024 district improvement plan and campus improvement plans. Mr. Shelby, can you read back the consent agenda?
Yes, I can. A, B, 1 through 2, C, 1 through 13, D, E, F, H, I, and K.
All right. Call for a vote.
Oh, that motion.
Make a
Sorry,
motion.
sorry.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion
Second.
second. Ms. Martin, call for vote. All right. Passed unanimously. We'll go to item G, approve and adopt second reading of TASB local policy revision for EIC local and EIE local.
Just had since we last had this at the previous meeting, I brought up about about looking into electives and about not kind of, has that been kind of discussion amongst administrators on that?
We talked about that. If we That's definitely on the table, but it cannot be on the table for this upcoming year because we have to look at the incoming freshmen. So down the road, that is definitely a yes, but it won't be for another couple of years in terms of having this group done, and then we can start with a group of freshmen to start over.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Comments? Seek a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Paris. Call for a vote. And it is unanimous. Thank you. We'll move to item J. Mr. Shoppy, approve purchase and installation of track and field renovations of Lomax Junior High.
Okay, what, I see the track and field renovations is $764,480. What are the alternates? What does that mean?
That was just another type of system that they put an option on there for us. It's just obviously a little more expensive.
Some creature conference.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're not adding those in there?
No,
Those
sir.
are possibilities that could be added in there?
They give you different add-ons if you'd like to do that. There's some other things. You can add covers to the pits and so on and so forth. So
Okay,
price,
also, how is this being paid for, out of bond money?
2014 bond, yes, sir.
And why are we going out buy board for that instead of bidding it out?
As far as, well, timeline and the same thing, this was the same kind of setup that we did with the auxiliary field. To be able to get the material and be able to put that in place. The bidding would have taken way too long for us to get that done.
Okay, what is the ETA on that?
As far as this here,
Yeah.
it's going to be getting done very quick. They're just waiting on the approval part of it. It'll be done by Christmas so they can start to get on it.
Okay. All right.
And just to reiterate, this is 2014 bond money, not
Correct.
2023.
Correct.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Thank you, Dr. Bromley.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Barton. I seek a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Thompson. Call for a vote. And it passed unanimously. Thank you very much. We'll move on to action item 9. Consider and possibly adopt a resolution number 2023-21 authorizing the district to join the litigation against Texas Education Agency.
Do you have the wording?
I make a motion that the board adopts the resolution 2023-21, authorizing the district to join the litigation against the Texas Education Agency, challenging their lack of transparency in the calculation of school district accountability ratings, and I authorize the superintendent to take all steps necessary to implement this resolution.
Second that.
Go ahead.
Okay. Okay. I'm gonna read a statement to the public. Should this board make the difficult decision to pursue litigation against Commissioner Mike Morath and the Texas Education Agency, we do so not to evade or dismantle the accountability system, but to uphold the very principles of fairness, truth, and value at the heart of any worthy accountability system. While the accountability system promulgated by the state is fraught with imperfections, the failure of the commissioner to provide adequate notice of the measures and goals by which the past and current efforts of our staff and students are judged is one that cannot be tolerated. We as a board value the efforts of our teachers, administrators, staff, and students too much to sit idly by while their hard work is maligned by the new rating criteria proposed by the commissioner. Whether intentional or not, the proposed changes to the accountability system without due notice cast a negative light upon performances once deemed acceptable or worthy of recognition without a period of notice to allow for growth and improvement as is fair to all our employees. The government should not, at whim, change the criteria by which our employees are judged after those actions have been completed. A card dealer does not change the value of the cards after the cards have been dealt and the game is underway. An acceptable accountability system is one that seeks to evaluate individuals and systems after proper notification for what is deemed worthy of recognition, to allow for accurate interpretation of data to be had, not only for our community to digest, but for our employees as well, so that they may grow and become better at their profession. Unfortunately, the failure of the commissioner to uphold the very tenet of that acceptable accountability system is what drives this board today to do what is necessary to protect our employees and students from an untrustworthy and unfair system. And I give it back to you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Yonda. Well said.
Mr. Yonda.
Any other questions or comments?
Nope. I
I
don't think
seek-
anybody can follow
Okay, I
that.
seek a motion.
I think we already did, right?
I already have
Oh,
mine.
you have, yes, a second.
I seconded
And
it.
seconded by Mr. Paris. Call for a vote. And it is unanimous.
Take that.
So let the record show that this board has given LaPorte ISD authorization to join litigation against TAA. To the teachers and administrators of LaPorte ISD, it is our hope that our action here tonight demonstrates the appreciation, confidence, and support we have for each of you. Your tireless efforts and overwhelming commitment to the children of LaPorte ISD are second to none, and we refuse to sit idle having any entity or agency undermine those contributions. You learn, train, adapt, and pivot to the needs of every student and the ever-changing expectations of public education. The questionable timing of accountability ratings and a coinciding special session on school vouchers make it increasingly clear your effectiveness in the classroom is a formidable inconvenience to the political narrative of ESAs. Do not grow discouraged. You matter, your work matters, and you are making a difference. This Board of Trustees believes in you. We appreciate you. We support you. And tonight, we fight for you. You are amazing, and we are truly blessed to have you in the LPISD family, and there are no revisions in the state's accountability rating system that could change that.
Well said.
So with that said, we will go to action on closed items. There's nothing. So we will go to closing comments of the Board of Trustees and the Superintendent. Mason?
I don't have anything.
Nothing? Okay. Mr. Shoppy? Ms. Thompson?
I'm good.
Just hope everybody enjoy their fall break. So.
Yeah, nice.
Go. Come on.
Surreal. I want to go too, but I want to make a comment. So I mentioned earlier, we have the Fall Festival, and I appreciate Adam Hall and the staff and everybody helping us get the word out to the kids. Dr. Jackson twisted my arm and wanted me to encourage the principals. Last year we had several of our principals participate in a pie eating contest. So if anybody wants to do that again, it's going to be all going to be cream pies, not apple bites.
I think,
Yeah, besides you have to defend your title, so it's not an option. Ring the bell. I'll say this, if you want to do it, we're doing $50 gift cards to the principals. Everybody will get a $50 gift card to Gringos, and then the winning principal, we donate a $500 gift card to the campus, so you can use it for a pizza party or whatever for your campus. So if you're interested in that, please get with me at the chamber. It starts at 11, so probably like 11:15, 11:30 on Saturday morning.
Don't eat breakfast.
Real quick, I just want to say, I've been so impressed with, we got people comment on our football team. We're so blessed, and everybody's excited to have such a great football team, but I'm more happy to have a coach that's leading these young men and building up character. So it's amazing to see that. So congrats, Coach Bernetti, on that. Also want to recognize Matt Novosad for all of the amazing work he's done in this community. I know he's not
You're
leading
here.
the community, but it's been a blessing to get to know him, call him a friend. And then also, again, we're so thankful for all the principals and all you guys do. I know that I spend a lot of time in elementary schools. I see what y'all have to deal with. Every one of y'all has to deal with so many different things. And so just know that we as a board appreciate everything you're doing. And then also just a special thank you to Candace. I require, if it's not obvious, a lot of hand holding. And so thank you for, y'all know, keeping me organized and get out that conference and all my hours and stuff. So thank you, Candace, for always be willing to help out with that.
Mr. Yonda?
Yeah, I just want to reiterate what Jeff said about Matt Novosad. Thank you so much for your service and congratulations. We're all going to miss you.
Yeah, for sure. Band competition this Saturday, a big game football Friday. And then just want to again share my sentiment about the campus walks, how refreshing they were. It's easy to get discouraged in this day and age, and to walk on those campuses and see kids be kids and see teachers teaching, the engagement, it truly is refreshing. And I'm just super, super proud of this district and what we do on a day in and day out basis. So good things are happening in our district. I'm super proud of it, and let's have a great weekend. So we don't have any further business. With